welcome to this edition of the podcast, Direct Selling Success Networking Done Right. I am here with two lovely people today. It's not often I get two on at once. This is very exciting. So I have with me Helen Davies and Leanne Naylor, co-founders of ND Accreditation, to talk all things neurodiversity and inclusion. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
This is going to be a little bit different because I don't think this is a topic we've ever covered on here, and I think it's one that is very needed and something that we should be talking about more. Before I get started, do you both want to introduce yourselves? Helen, do you want to go first?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Helen Davis, and I'm one of the co-founders, as you said, of ND Accreditation. So I'm a nurse, stroke clinical director by background, and also have my own neurodivergent business, and really been specialising in neurodiversity and neuro-inclusion now for a number of years. Yeah, it's something I'm massively passionate about.
Amazing, lovely. And Leanne, what about you?
I'm also a nurse. I'm a mental health nurse by background and a sleep consultant. And I have a background in therapy as well. And a big, strong drive to improve awareness around neurodiversity in life, in the workplace, in business. I think, like you say, and it's something that isn't very often talked about, particularly in the business environment or workplace environment. And because of that, I think there's probably some gaps. There's money being left on the table and unnecessary kind of stresses getting in the way. Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. The money being left on the table is a huge thing, not just from customers, but also from trying to run a business in a way, your job in a way that doesn't suit the way your brain works.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to cover all this, aren't we? It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
So what got you really wanting to make an impact in this particular area?
So for me personally, I've got ADHD and dyslexia particularly, but I'm sure I've got a few splattering of the other neurotypes. And I just know how hard it was. I've spent decades really in the workplace not wanting to admit I had dyslexia at the time and worried about the stigma, finding it really difficult. And that people just didn't see the effort that went in to actually just pitching up a work and actually producing what I needed to do. Although I very much enjoyed my job, I did have to go the extra mile all the time. And I think there's certain bits in your life, adding a kid, that's a little bit of extra fun. Adding menopause, a gift that keeps giving. Then you can add things like that, and it really ramps up your neurodiversity challenges. And I think there were times in my life when I was on my knees, like properly on my knees, and it felt really dark, and I just didn't know what to do. And I eventually found ways that helped me. I eventually found things that made a difference, which for I'm very grateful. But I'd like to shortcut all that so that it's quicker, and that, if you like, people can learn from, I guess, my mistakes and my hardship to those hacks and stuff a little bit easier. And also about the workplace being a place where you actually don't have to mask all the time, that it works for every kind of brain. I've always been passionate advocate about inclusion in general, and I guess now I've honed down specifically on neuro-inclusion.
Yeah. And I totally resonate with pretty much everything you said there. Apart from the dyslexia, I struggled at school. I wouldn't say I was neurodiverse. I've never been tested or anything like that, but I know I have a very creative brain. And sitting down and learning things on rote, or being told to sit in a classroom and keep still and then go to a job and not be able to be that creative person I am.
Yeah.
Even just as me, as whoever I am, I found that difficult. I can't imagine having like dyslexia or learning difficulties, anything like that, and having to sit in a place where it doesn't feel right somehow. You can't express yourself, or bizarre. Yeah. And what about you, Leanne? How did you come into this world?
Because as well as being a specialist mental health lead, I also am a senior clinician in one of the neurodevelopmental teams within the NHS as well. So doing autism and ADHD assessments for children and adults, as well as privately. Me and Helen have known each other for quite some time. We've worked on other projects previously. One of those projects being Practical Wisdom, which was a company set up to support adults awaiting or recently diagnosed with either ADHD or autism. We won quite a few contracts with NHS doing that, which was amazing. We helped over 1,200 people in that time. And we've got a lovely, wonderful community. And in that community, same themes, same issues kept rising. And that was, this is great, this is wonderful, we've learnt loads, you've been really supportive, but what now? Because work, business, the employment side of life, or business side of life, if you like, is where what the key challenges are. Either not managing business and struggling with things like executive functioning, if they were a business owner themselves, if they're an employee, struggling with the working life, 9 till 5, sitting at a desk all day, not feeling understood or supported. And equally, people could be diverse themselves, neurodiverse themselves, but they might have colleagues who are also neurodiverse, or business partners who are neurodiverse, but very different, and not knowing how to work together and support each other properly. And that they were key themes that kept coming up. So we had a look about to see what was out there, little bits here and there, but not the same as what we've put together. If I can say that.
Yeah, you do have something special.
Thank you.
Oh, we've lost your sound. Hang on. What's gone on with the sound?
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, sorry, just a glitch there, I think. So what I was saying, so that's how ND Accreditation was born, because we could see there's a big gap in the market. People needed support. We had the skills, we had the clinical knowledge, which not everybody has, as well as lived experience. And yeah, that's how it all came about. So we've produced a wonderful course for people to do of different levels, depending on where you're at, whether it's just awareness, whether you've got that awareness, you've got some things in place, but you're not sure, to full accreditation. So we're a CPD certified training company as well. Yeah. I don't want to say that more in case I think Ellen might have something to say.
No, it's a very exciting thing for, I think, the world in general, and especially people in the industry that I'm in, so network marketing specifically. Lots and lots of people come into network marketing because a normal job, in inverted commas, doesn't fit, because either kids with neurodiverse issues mean that they can't be at work because of those children can't be at school all the time, or they struggle coping with parents being away. Their own things that they've got going on mean that they can't be sat at a 9 to 5 desk. And the way that a lot of entrepreneurs go into being in the business world themselves, they go in because they can use that amazing ability to have those fantastic ideas and that, I don't know, that creative brain. It lends itself to being entrepreneurial somehow.
Yeah,
If you're not
definitely.
being, sorry, go on, Helen.
I was going to say, there's a disproportionate amount of people who are neurodiverse within the entrepreneur world by a long shot. And when you were saying, I really resonate actually with what you were saying about why people go into the kind of industry that you support, because actually I have my own kids and there's definitely neurodiversity there, some diagnosed, some not, but also one of the kids needed a lot of appointments. Like, you literally spend half your time at appointments or fighting for an EHCP. For people who know what that is, it's like getting accommodations at school, and you can't hold down a full-time job. I literally had to go part-time because there was no other way to actually do all those meetings, do everything I needed to advocate, and you really have to advocate for my child. I had to have enough time to do that. And actually, in fact, that side of my life was probably the hardest job, if you like, I've ever had. And so you need, therefore, your other income to come in and actually support that. But it's your priority is trying to support that child getting what they need. So there's that kind of balance that you have to do. And yeah, I'm sure a lot of people, Anna, in your audience have those kind of struggles, or they need to do it in a way because they have other commitments, whether it's caring commitments, as well as it fits who they are. So I also think it's like multi-layered as to why they need to do that. I don't think we're always so good at being kind to ourselves, about making sure that our needs are met. And when we talk in the workplace, one of our things for the quality marker we do talk about is about what some like reasonable adjustments are put into place. But when you're an entrepreneur, there isn't someone else saying, what have you done for yourself? You know what I mean? What are you putting in place that would suit you? And yeah, you might have carved out a job that fits the hours, but I also think there's other things that can work for your type of brain that you need to put into place, different things, whether it's ChatGPT helping you write an email, or there's lots of different things, scheduling to your natural rhythm, your time span as to how you work, if you're a morning person, an evening person, hacks for your type of brain. And I don't think people, particularly entrepreneurs, do that as much. And they all go and try and get support to copy what they think they should be doing, the way they think that they should be doing. And you look around and you think, why are all these business models not working for me? If you have a unique type of brain, you're not going to have, it's not going to work the same stuff that other people do. So it's also about finding things that work for your type of brain, ways that work for your type of thinking and action as well. And it does worry me, I know, the amount of people who are trying to copy things that literally aren't built for how they think.
Yeah, totally agree. And I have this saying, stop shunning yourself. Because just because somebody's doing something one way doesn't mean that you have to do it the same way. And it doesn't mean it's going to work for you either. Because
Yeah.
if your brain's not built to do it that way, or even if you're lacking the self-confidence or the skills, or even like from a practical point of view, the audience or the alignment with it.
There's a simple thing. So, for example, it sounds simple, doesn't it? A to-do list sounds so simple.
Yeah.
And some people do a list and it's done. Well, that's amazing. That'll be a bit like the days when I wanted to just walk out the door, and I did until I had old bride of great kids, and it takes a few goes to get out of that door. But if you actually need a list that works for you, and actually one of my favorite things when we were on a call once was actually somebody showed us that they put their to-do list. They had Lego bricks for the day and for the week. And it was really colourful and it was so much fun. And they wrote their actions on that, on one of those kind of pens that you can just watch through. And they were like, there's only so many bricks. And it was really visual and tacit. And I thought that is the best to-do list ever. So if you're working at home, you can jazz it up and be a bit creative, or use Post-its to your heart content, or you can use online things like Trello. But it's actually like trying to make it fun instead of something like you would kill me now.
Yeah. I can never work to a schedule. I find it too constrictive. So if somebody tells me I've got to do this and this in certain order, I just rebel straight away.
Yeah.
Unless it's fun and unless I can do what I want when I want, I find that really difficult. So when I first came into business, I remember thinking, I can't do it like I'm being told to, with power hours and Pomodoro techniques and all this stuff, because I'm not wired that way. I would hate it. I'd find it dull and then I just wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So
Conversely, you've got people that do need that.
yeah, exactly.
Like we were talking about earlier, sometimes some people can just give you like a very quick summary of something without the detail. Some people need that detail.
Yeah.
Some people don't want too much detail, because if you give them too much detail, they've switched off half an hour ago and don't even hear what you're saying. So it's about knowing what works for you, like Helen's saying, and adapting things to fit you and your lifestyle. And in terms of network marketing and being like a team leader or vice president or whatever your terminology is within your company, thinking about your team. Because when you get hyped to the top, you've got a huge team, downline, haven't you? Huge downline. And if we think about the fact that in the UK alone, around 15 to 20% of business people, whether that's self-employed, limited company, network marketing, anything at all, basically they're not an employee, 15% are neurodivergent. That's 1 in 6 or 7 people, roughly.
I'd have thought it had been so much higher than that.
That's the stats. However, there is a caveat saying it's underreported, because not everybody has a diagnosis. Not everybody who even has a diagnosis talks about having a diagnosis and keeps it to themselves. Again, that's around stigma and judgment and all those things. So there's lots of people out there who are either undiagnosed but would easily get a diagnosis if they chose to, or who are diagnosed and don't talk about it. So that figure's low for those reasons. And having worked in network marketing myself in the past, I am fully aware of how many people are neurodiverse, whether they're diagnosed or not, whether they even know it or not. It's very interesting. But that's still quite high if you think, like 1 in 6.
Yeah.
And the size of your downline, 1 in 6, that's quite a few people in everyone's team who are potentially neurodiverse. And that's the minimum. It's probably going to be a lot higher, like we've just said.
Yeah. So, as experts and advisors in this particular sector, for those people who are leading teams,
Mm.
what advice can you give them about how they train across the board with all these different learning types?
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head in terms of saying learning types. So you know that which different people will have different ways of learning. So you need to check how much information they find useful. Some people just want like the headline, and other people want the detail. So, for example, if you're going to send out an email about an update, like the first bit can be a summary of it, that if you read in that would be enough, great. And then the rest of it is the detail for the person who's going to read it further. So you can, like, in one email have two different styles that meet. And also you can ask people, would you find it easier if I leave like a voice message? Or because that's the other thing, particularly if you've got a WhatsApp group or something like that, you can leave a voice message for everyone. Now, I'm a bit greedy. I like to talk about it, but I need something to refer back to. So I need both. So, if you cover all communication, if it's something really important, then you can actually leave a voice note on it and then also send like a message that has those two styles, and then you've got that covered. So it's like when you're trying to, because there's a lot of like instructions or information you need to know, don't you, when you're managing staff and when you're being managed, to understand this is how we do it and all the rest of it. So you need to know that. But when you're actually with your clients, for example, you're not going to sit and ask them that, give them the same information. But you can pick up and ask them, do you find it easier if I give you short answers or long answers? Just something simple so that you know how to approach it. Because if you don't approach it on a communication level that works for them, then it won't. And then some of the stuff is actually, it's quite tacit, isn't it? You show the product, and some people learn and to know by seeing the things as well. It's understanding your customers and what they need and how they like the information. So even having a conversation about what works for you with your customer helps to understand, how you can approach it for that customer to get on their wavelength. After all, that's why you're doing what you do. Is if they haven't heard it, then it's not going to work.
No, they're not going to buy, and they're not going to thrive in the business if they're part of your team.
Yeah.
Mm.
Leanne,
think,
you've worked in the industry. I'm curious as to what you've got to add.
yeah, for me, I'm a big fan of language and communication. Helen will know this. I'm always piping up about it. And our use of language, both internally to ourselves and externally. And quite often I've heard phrases like, you've got to post daily or you're not going to make it. You've got to post daily or you're going to fail. Why don't you need to post at least 10 times a day? And that's not really, it's not the best type of communication. That's the best way I can put it right now.
It's not productive.
But what was that, Anna?
It's not productive.
No, it's not. And it's that urgency-driven language that we hear a lot in like growth tactic marketing, I call it, or other people do call it that as well. And I don't really think that lands very well generally, and particularly not with people who are neurodiverse. It increases that sense of fear, that sense of judgment, rejection sensitivity disorder, which is very high amongst neurodiverse population, more so than any other really. And it's better to offer just simple, clear expectations or instructions on how to do things. But if you're going to do a recording, for example, ask if it would be helpful to have subtitles. Check in with people and say, look, would you prefer like a half-hour recording or 10 minutes? Or we could do it in 10-minute blocks and take a break. Communication, communicate, discuss, talk about these things rather than just assuming. And one thing this reminds me of is I remember having a conversation not that long ago, actually, with somebody in the marketing arena, not network marketing specifically, but the marketing arena. And we're talking about ADHD and how some of their clients sometimes might turn up quite late to things. And I said, oh, time blindness, that's a key one. Not that I know personally about that, maybe. Some people do really struggle with that. It is a genuine issue. It's not just we're rocking up late because we can't be bothered or we're disrespectful. And that was another thing I used to hear a lot in network marketing. If you don't turn up on time, you're being disrespectful of time, disrespectful of others. Again, take that as you will. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe time blindness and this person's struggling with it. And the marketer in question then turned around to me and said, I've got ADHD and I'm not time blind. I don't turn up late to meetings or appointments.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, okay. So again, just reminding yourself that maybe you're neurodiverse yourself. Doesn't necessarily mean that because you're ADHD or autistic or you're ADHD or whatever you might be, that the next person is going to present and struggle with the same things as you, even if they've got the same diagnosis or the same traits or the same symptoms, however you want to term it.
Mm.
So it's really being mindful and being really aware that not everybody presents the same. Communication is really key. And just that communication is in talking about what would be helpful for you. How would I best do this to support you? How would this work best for you? Just those simple 3 questions really can be really helpful. If need be, being flexible with timelines, clear weekly priorities, not necessarily saying, right now, we've got an hour. We've got this power hour, we're going to do 30 tasks, we're going to post 10 times, we're going to reply to 10 messages, we're going to send out 50 emails. You know, just check in with your people.
Yes, because some people like to work like that and some don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some people do. And you know what? Sometimes I do work like that and I'll be all in the zone. There could be chaos going on all around me and I would be completely zoned out of it all and not have a Scooby-Doo there's a bomb going off in the background. Other times, I could be distracted by the fact that by myself, nothing but me. Get nothing done in that hour. So it really it can vary on where you're at, who you are as a person. So again, that checking in with yourself, that checking in with other people, asking yourself, why am I being distracted or why am I not getting this done? Again, communication, language, internally and externally.
And particularly like with the time blindness thing, for example, some ADHD will be chronically early because of the anxiety that they learn about being late. So most ADHD people do have a time with the problem with the time, but it can make it they learn to go either way. But the other thing, I guess, it's also learning techniques that work for you. So, for example, don't fit in that one last email you think you're going to do before going the door, one last task, because it's not going to work. And you think it's going to work, but it's just not. So there's things like that, multiple alarms, making sure you do other like reminders, whether it's a post-it on your door, take the keys so you don't lock yourself out, or there's different, you need to look at the hacks to help your memory if you have memory issues, because sometimes the time blindness is due to forgetting stuff. I might have been heading out the door, absolutely ready to go, and then I can't find my keys. It's 5 minutes later, I found the bloody keys, and then I get out the door and now I'm late. I was so close. And things like that can happen. And so it's also like having curious conversations as to how did your day actually pan out? How did you get where you are? Because if they can notice patterns, then they can look at the cause and see and try something different. So there's also stuff like that you can do, and you can get the support and you can get neurodivergent specific coaching for different neurotypes as well to help you work with your type of brain as well. And these days you can also look it up, but you need to understand yourself and understand where the limitations are, but how they came to that point. So it's not just understanding I'm time blind, but it's having that curiosity as to, but how, like in what way, how does it present? And so a lot about understanding our own brains or our kids' brains is like how we get to where we are. And so for children, for example, trying to get them out of the door, it's also about if we encourage them to have their bag ready and that they have everything in there, and that when they come home from school, if they've used anything, they just swap something out and swap it back in if they need it. Because children as well will struggle with executive function, particularly if they're neurodiverse even more. So it's also about supporting systems and approaches that help you get ready in a way that works for you.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I've noticed in my business and with having my team within network marketing back in the day, and what you were saying about the time blindness or the overwhelm that kicks in with certain situations for certain people, being in a big room with lots of people, being in a group chat with lots of people. Will suit some people, will suit others great, will not suit others. And as a team leader, and in this business, I make sure that I've got lots of ways that people can interact with the things that I put on. So within a network marketing team, if you've got a group chat, but some people don't like it or don't go in there or come out of it, it's nothing personal. It's just not their thing. What can you put in place for them?
Yeah.
Can it be a weekly email checkup so they know what's going on? Can it be a separate call, or what can you do for all the different people that are in your team that do get overwhelmed or don't like the big in-person loud rah stuff or group chats that are pinging all the time?
And I was just about to say about the big loud stuff, because when I was in network marketing, we had some of the best parties, and I loved all the
Yes.
pomp and circumstance and positivity. It was great. I loved it. But like I say, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
And even like I was saying earlier, not everyone's diagnosed. I haven't got a diagnosis, but I can tell you right now, I've definitely got some traits of ADHD, and Helen will certify that. But that's you don't have to be diagnosed if you don't want to be. That's your individual choice.
Yeah.
And I think it's around acknowledging and accepting that, modeling your boundaries as a leader, and not necessarily just in network marketing, but in life generally, as a parent, in work, network marketing, whatever. We're always a leader. The minute we step out our front door, or even before, if we're a parent, we're leading, we're showing. So making sure you're modeling those boundaries, talking openly about things. Again, going back to communication and being mindful of the language that you're using when you are communicating, talking about energy and capacity, and the accommodations, adaptations, what works for you, what doesn't, and celebrating. Like we talk about this big, loud visibility that you get in network marketing, which, like I said, I love, but not everybody does. And it's not just about that, is it? It's about also celebrating the diverse success styles within each of us, within each team. Everyone succeeds in different ways and looks different, and that should be celebrated and not overlooked. And I think that's really key, because I would call back thinking there's some people that did some really amazing things which they would never have done, which were just like, oh yeah, that was great, well done. Meanwhile, there's a song and a dance over the road for somebody that's done something not too dissimilar, but because this person did it quietly, it didn't have the whole shebang to go with it. Do you know what I mean? The whole big woo. So yeah, it's being mindful of those things, I think, as well. Anything you want to add, Helen?
Yeah, what I was really mindful is obviously, so if you're like doing network marketing, you're obviously meeting a lot of people, and that's part of the job. No, even if you really love people, and being a nurse, I love people, that's cool. But there will be a point where your social battery just drains. And so it's also understanding how much social battery you've got. And so sometimes we think about currency in terms of money, in terms of time, but I would say for everyone to think about currency also in terms of how much energy they have, because you will only have so much energy to go around. So for example, if I've got a really, I guess, bit triggering chat about EHCP in the morning, I might not want to go do my network marketing in the afternoon. The next day it's a bit clearer and that'll be fine. But it might be a really good afternoon to do my admin, because I'm feeling I'm going to be a bit quieter, it's probably a bit flatter, but that's for me when I'm good at admin, ironically. So it's also thinking and playing to your strengths as to when is best for, obviously for your clients, but also for you to go out there with the jazz hands and the positivity, and understanding what you need to do to recharge your batteries. Will you, if you've gone really hard at it, like a really big afternoon or a big day, you might actually need the next morning a lie-in or a little bit of extra time to just charge a bit. So it's also thinking about the, I guess, the energy currency in all that as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I see this a lot. And I also see people beating themselves up because they don't manage that well, or there's something going on within the brain, and this is probably Leanne's department, that is self
Oh yeah,
I can't think of the word.
inner critic.
Self-sabotaging?
Yeah,
self-sabotaging. And that, I can't remember what you've just said, Helen. You've just said it perfectly, the word
inner
critic.
Yeah, look, we found that, didn't we, Leanna? A really big part, we had this when we were doing that program, and it went over a few months, so it was really great. You got to know people really well. Is the inner voice was a really big issue, and people pleasing. So not knowing.
Yes.
So both those things combine into a perfect storm. Because if you don't have boundaries, which like Leanne was talking about before, if you don't have those boundaries in place, then you're giving from an empty cup, and that is actually genuinely a massive issue. You're not doing anyone any favors if you actually don't look after your needs. Genuinely, and I say that a lot to parents as well. And then in terms of the inner critic, sometimes it can be like brutal, and it is really interesting to like test. If you saw somebody across the road speaking to somebody else, how you speak to yourself in your brain, would it bother you? Would you think, oh, I'm not sure, maybe I should intervene? That seems really like, oof, bit full on. Really stop and think, because if you think that inner voice, if it was across the road, you would be like, that's not all right, then why is it all right for you to do it to yourself? And it's about having the opportunity to stop and realize actually you're being harder to yourself than you would be to anyone else. And there could be loads of reasons as to why, but the inner critic is a really big thing. And we did do some work on that in a lot of different ways. And one is to reduce people pleasing. But obviously the other thing is to catch it and try and distance yourself from it. And there's loads of different hacks. But it is really important, though, to know that you're actually making things harder for yourself by actually being that critical to yourself more than you would ever do to anyone else.
It's also inner critic. It's also a form of threat prevention as well.
Yeah.
So as well as being linked into the people pleasing, like Helen was talking about, there's also an element of that where people will often have been criticised throughout life, teachers, parents, managers, peers, even in fact, like trying to fit into a system that isn't suitable for you, trying to fit a round peg in a square hole, that old analogy. And the threat protection is that if I criticise myself first, then maybe others won't. That subconscious internal dialogue.
Yeah.
And then you've got the other element about, again, people receiving like vague feedback or contradictory rules or delayed consequences in some way, again, throughout life, that inconsistent feedback and over-analysis, which causes them people to relay things. When you hear about people ruminating about what they've said and what they've done, then they can't sleep. And that's their brain trying to seek some kind of clarity, some kind of certainty in what feels such an uncertain world. Because again, the round peg in a square hole scenario. And that all feeds back into people pleasing. So it can be quite cynical if you're not careful.
Yeah, learning to accept, I think, is crucial with any of this. And I say this a lot when I'm coaching with my clients. They beat themselves up over things, or not being able to do things, or health going on in the background, or kids going on in the background. I think we've got to accept what's going on and our abilities and our capacity and our energy. And when we can start to do that, we can then start to manage expectations and boundaries and abilities and everything on top of that, because it's that stop shooting yourself again, isn't it?
Yeah. And stop going for 100% perfect. It doesn't exist. It's literally a unicorn. So it's, what is your good enough measurement? Aim for that.
Yeah. At the moment, right now, with everything I've got going on, what is good enough? What is my version of good enough? Not somebody else's, or not what I think I should.
Yeah. And also, I think when you spend months with people, they get to see the real you as well. So when we were doing this course, I was learning along the way, but I'm incredibly forgetful. And there was cohort 3, and it was the very last session. And as I walked out to put the rubbish out, and then I was like, oh, and I had not taken my keys. Luckily, I had my phone, and I was just about to start a call. I was like, no. So the start of the call ended up being from in front of my front door. And we all had a proper giggle about it. But I still pitched out. We still laughed. And I still did the session. And then my neighbour luckily gave me the key. And then because I do give people spare keys because I know this is me. And then we completed it. But it's also about, it's okay to be who you are, however chaotic you are. Like, I think a big part was people accepting who they are as well.
Yeah. And that's where power lies. That's what I think. If you can accept who you are and embrace all the qualities and all the quirks and everything else, and use what you have and the way your brain works and who you are, the best of your abilities, you'll make it.
Yeah,
It's when we're
Yeah.
fighting against it all the time that we don't.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think for those people who are listening to this and thinking, oh, that's me, I'm a people pleaser, oh, that's me, I've got an inner critic. And it might be you if you're a people pleaser and an inner critic. That's quite common to have the two together. One kind of cognitive reframe that might help is thinking less of it not being a weakness, right? Not being a problem, not being you're not doing something right, or you're thinking about it wrong, or you're overthinking. Okay, it being a negative, basically. Reframing that along the lines of, you know what, my nervous system has been shaped like this through chronic misunderstanding throughout my life to date, not a weakness. So now I know this, I can do X, Y, and Z going forward.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a little tip.
Yeah. I've always said I embrace the fact that I'm a people pleaser. I think it makes me who I am, and it makes me understanding, and it makes me an empath.
Yeah,
And I love myself for it, but I didn't used to. I used to beat myself up because I'd always say yes to everything, or I'd always want to do something for somebody else. But actually, as long as I can accept it and then create some boundaries, being a people
exactly.
pleaser is amazing.
Yeah, as long as you've got
Yeah.
boundaries in place.
Yes.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you can also match to what you're good at. So I've got an attachment disorder. I always joke that I could attach to a fly. And that makes me absolutely shocking at something that's a really long ongoing thing. Whereas it makes me really good in emergency care or something short. Because I'm everyone's best friend for a whole few minutes, can help them sort them out, and then they go on and I go on. And so it like the warmth is genuinely there because that's part of my attachment. But I don't like it was definitely really helped put patients at ease. Like genuinely, it really helped, and it helps also in the coaching stuff, in the training stuff, because I genuinely care when I'm coaching how they are, how their day's gone, how's this session going. You know, is there anything else you need? Anything else I can tell you? And it works that it's actually not a long, ongoing kind of relationship because I can't take everyone home. Turns out, tried, but no.
Oh, lovely. So I know that you've got all sorts of things that can help people if they've listened to this and they think, oh, actually, do you know what? I want to find out a bit more, or I want to be able to help my team more, I want to be able to help myself more. Where can
Yeah.
they come and find information?
So we've got hello at ndaccreditation.com. And so, yeah, you can get us there. We're on Instagram as well under ND Accreditation as well. We're both on LinkedIn, myself and Leanne. So all those kind of things. And we like if somebody they know that them and their team could do with some neurodiversity training, that's something we can definitely help with them. We can also bring things alive. They could talk to us about what their common scenarios are with the people that they serve and their teams, and then we can really help make it relevant for their particular, if you like, situation. So there's things like that we can do. If you've got a bunch of ADHD tiggers, for example, who are your network marketers, and they're great at what they do, but they're struggling with everyday life. And there's some things like the time blindness or something else. Then also we can do like skills-based workshops as well, which are aimed at actually upskilling individual people and how they go about things. So it's whether it's awareness and understanding it that way, or if it's for people themselves, we can do either really.
Brilliant. I will share the links in all the show notes just to make sure
Yeah.
everybody's got them. We'll do
Can I
that
just
too.
clarify? The hello at ndaccreditation.com, that's the email address,
Yes.
just so people know. And then the website is ndaccreditation.com.
Lovely. Perfect. And spelling wise, I will make sure it's linked because I can't spell accreditation. Amazing. Oh, thank you so much for coming on. It's been absolutely brilliant and so insightful.
Oh,
Thank you for inviting us, Anna. It's been lovely. Yeah, really lovely.
yeah, thanks so much. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Lovely. Thank you for coming, and thank you everyone for listening. And if you want to go and find out more, go and check out Helen Davies and Leanne Naylor and ND Accreditation. Thank you very much.